You said the previous government was, quote, addicted to spending. I've heard that phrase a few times. And yet now that you're in the hot seat, this year government spending is actually increasing as a percentage of the overall economy. So why are you so addicted to spending?
Well, what you can see with this budget is that that spending as a proportion of the economy reduces significantly over time.
It goes up this year though, right?
Yes, it does in the short term, which reflects the fact that we have had very difficult economic conditions. But here's the...
Well, so did the previous government, of course.
Here's the key thing I want you...
very difficult economic conditions. You know, that whole kind of COVID thing, the whole world closing down, no, okay, sorry, but you guys have had it tough. The last guys, fuck them. They should just deal with it. Got it.
Be aware of. We are proposing and have put in our budget the lowest operating allowance in a decade. That's the amount of money available for our discretionary spending. What is really driving spending into the future, and what you can see in our forecasts, is New Zealand superannuation, our benefit costs, and those are things that we haven't made discretionary policy choices about. Where we have controlled things is the vast majority of our new initiatives are being funded from savings elsewhere. And I'd note that the alternative approach, again, that many are promoting is don't do any savings, oppose any savings, say yes to every new spending commitment, and that would mean that our spending would be getting well out of control. We've installed discipline again.
Well, let's look at that spending. So you say that the opposition whacks it all on the credit card. This year alone, you've borrowed $13 billion more than you said you would in last year's budget. According to Treasury forecasts, you're now forecast to borrow an additional $72 billion on our debt by 2029. So that would leave us with a total gross debt of $283 billion, $283,000 million. As Matthew Hooton noted, by that stage, we're going to be spending more on debt servicing every year than the budget for primary schools, police and defence combined. And
sorry, I'm sorry. I just want to have a look at this shit-eating grin.
Every year than the budget for primary schools,
when I say she
police...
is this. When I say she was like, it's like so obnoxious and stuff. I'm doing my best not to spoil the surprise, guys. You wait till you hear the actual relationship to the debt compared to the last guys who remember what they said about them and their debt and uncontrolled spending. Just remember.
And defence combined. And in your first 5 years in government, you are now set to borrow more money than Jacinda Ardern's government did in 6. Why are you so addicted to spending?
I share your
Did you get that? Do we get that far now? More borrowing than they did in 6.
It's almost like the line that they keep on hammering, the line that they want you to remember. National is the economic safe pair of hands. National has no choice but to make savings because they're the responsible government. And what is it? We can't say it in the House. Nobody can say it in the House, but we can say it. They are lying to you because they are liars.
Now we come to one of those patronising moments again. She basically congratulates Jack for asking the right question. Don't think she goes to answer the question. It's the most patronising responses in this interview.
Government did in 6. Why are you so addicted to spending?
I share your discomfort, which is why I have said we need to get that debt curve down.
If you're borrowing more than the previous government, you might share my discomfort, but you're not actually taking the actions that would address that surplus
But I
problem.
am taking the action.
There you go. Next clip, Chewie. Sir.
Oh, the numbers are terrifying. Now, I've got some numbers here from well-known lefty shill David Farrar. Farrar?
Leftist. Woke leftist.
Comrade David has done this helpful comparison between Robertson and Willis. You can see there, it is increases across the board.
Yeah.
So if he was recklessly spending in the middle of a pandemic to keep us all in our homes, to keep our jobs safe and our fellow citizens alive, then what the fuck justifies this?
Can I add one little thing here? I am not against the concept of borrowing, more or less, because it depends what's best for the country in that moment. What I am against is these guys pointing to the last one. Remember, we have two little rules here. We will judge this government by how they judged the last, and we will judge this government by the standards they set for themselves. The way they judged the last was they borrowed too much, they spend too much, and they had a global pandemic to get through, and they still borrowed too much. Now, I mean, yes, we're about to catch her out in a lie in a second, Chewie, about Donald Trump. I'll show you what that is.
Oh,
but
yeah,
now
no,
she's blaming Trump for what they're doing now. Yeah, okay, Trump is a parasite. Okay, he might be a pandemic. Gotcha. But you didn't give grace to the last guys for a global pandemic, but you want grace for Trump. You didn't give grace to the last guys for borrowing because of that issue, but you want to have to be able to borrow more for what you think is an issue. And we'll just say this again. We haven't said it tonight, so we're allowed our one time. $17 billion given away, reimbursed in tax cuts and in landlord reimbursements. Hundreds of millions to the tobacco companies, taking $13 billion off the most vulnerable women workers in this country. And she fucking sits there and still says, we're not going to do what the last guys did. What did the last guys do? They borrowed too much and they spent too much, but you're borrowing more. Yes. We're not going to do it.
That's the most succinct sum up of this entire Q&A. That's just it. It's just Jack Tame slapping with that again and again and again. One thing I will acknowledge here that I like is the drawing of a direct line between two existential threats to New Zealand: a global pandemic and Donald Trump. They're at the same level. I think
if you zoom right in on Donald Trump, he does basically turn into one of those COVID molecules that we saw. I think it's the same.
We've spoken about this on the store multiple times with people much smarter than us. When times are tough, a government's job is to borrow and spend because it stimulates the economy. You go on infrastructure building binge, you put people in work, you do it all in-house. You build hospitals, you build schools, you build housing projects, you build fucking wind farms. You do all of that stuff because it stimulates the economy. It keeps people in jobs and it also keeps profits, hopefully, with us because we can do it all in-house. We don't have to get a foreign investor in to do it. Then when times are good, governments can fucking hit the cruise control. Everything looks after itself. But they can borrow money, they can make money out of thin fucking air. They can literally print it. You don't want to go crazy, but this is a country's job. That's what happened in COVID. Like every Western country pretty much did that. They stimulated the economy. They kept people's houses, mortgages paid. They kept them in their homes. That was stimulus. And it fucking worked.
Yeah.
And yes, there is a price to pay with a rise in inflation, but if you know that you're doing it, you can manage it. And if you come out of that period with, holy shit, we've built all of this social housing. We have all of these new hospitals that we knew needed to be replaced. We bought 50, 100-year infrastructure. That was a good reason to borrow. What isn't a good reason to borrow is something on a much shorter timeline, like military toys and landlords' profit margins. Those are poor spends on borrowed money. I know this. I don't even go to university. I just listen to smarter people. Nicola, who's a journalism major, not an economic one, might have missed that bit and has the gall to say that she won't take maths lessons from Chloe Schwarbrick in the house this week.
We probably haven't got time for
She does not know what's going on.